At Long Island University, iPad adoption was driven by the desire to cut costs at the institution by moving away from desktop computing, attract new students, and increase retention of current students. It was rationalized that if the offer of a device might attract an additional 100 students, retaining those students would bring millions of tuition dollars to the institution. For the 2011-2012 academic year, the initiative was expanded to include newly enrolled graduate students and full-time as well as part-time undergraduate students. However, there were eligibility criteria that students had to meet, so not every student attending the university received a free iPad. Also, the institution had to alter its organizational structure to develop a method for checking whether students were eligible and for managing the distribution of devices and supporting students in the use of those devices. Key administrators such as the Chief Financial Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, and Academic Officer were consulted prior to implementation, but faculty were not. Devices were distributed to students before faculty with the hope that it would drive faculty adoption, but faculty were invited to submit proposals the first semester of implementation, and user groups were formed to support faculty in integrating iPads into their teaching. Looking at what are termed successes in this case, mobile learning was not well incorporated into the curriculum. Some of these successes the institution identifies are not examples of mLeaning occurring. One example was of a math instructor who used the iPad to provide visual representations of complex formulas and used a class management tool that allowed the professor mobile access to class records. But this is not an example of mLeaning. Most current theories and definitions of mobile learning posit that it's an interaction between learners and technology, and it's learner-centered. However, at Long Island University, those examining the implementation process and labeling these cases as successes seem to subscribe more to myths about mobile learning, such as that all mLeaning is about the device, the iPad in this case, or that mLeaning uses existing learning environment designs and current teaching and learning methodologies, when we know that essentially pedagogy and the approach to learning have to shift in order for mLeaning to be effective. In this case, since the goal was to improve finances and retention at the university, perhaps mLeaning was not considered as an important outcome. Long Island University's integration doesn't seem to correspond with any of the theories in mobile learning that we've been discussing in this course, nor were the devices integrated in a learner-centered manner, though they were integrated in a student-centered manner, since the point was to attract more students. I have lots of suggestions that I would offer for the leaders of this institution in order to improve the initiative. They have the framework to have mobile learning become a more prevalent part of their institution. On their information technology website, they have information about e-portfolios. They have training and workshops for faculty. They have information about hardware and software for faculty and students, including information about Office 365, which is a type of software that can be used mobily. They also have information about student game rooms that allow them to play games on consoles and have tournaments. There are opportunities here to have more of a cultural ecology for mobile learning. They have the support that they need, but they haven't yet, or at least they don't seem to, have married the ideas of integrating all of those areas that are important in order for mobile learning to flourish. In attempting to follow some of the links on the website about the iPad initiative, it would seem as though the institution stopped giving out free iPads after spring of 2015. But it also seems as though maybe their priorities have shifted, as there's other information that reveals that in certain classrooms with smartboards, they provide outlets for students to plug in their laptops, tablets, or phones. So maybe the university is closer now to having a cultural environment that is better for mobile learning. Since now they have the students that they need, maybe they aren't looking to recruit and use mobile learning as a recruitment tool, but instead to use mLeaning as a method of teaching students.